This is Mike Benoit with Tyranny Busters. Today we're interviewing Mikie Smith of 9/11 Truther fame. And I don't usually like to introduce people and say a lot of things about them. I just like them to say it for themselves. But the purpose of the video here is, just like every Tyranny Buster video or interview, is to get people to throw off this tyranny that's been placed on their mind by false opinions or false facts or programming. And so I'm not coming down on either side of the issue here as far as 9/11, but it's just like, okay, I want to hear facts, and then I want to be able to tell the difference between a fact and an opinion or a scientific opinion. And so I'm going to now turn it over to Mikie and let him introduce himself and tell us what he wants to tell us as an intro.
Okay. My name is Mikie Smith, Michael R. Smith. And I am a 30-plus year engineer here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And I work with architects and engineers for 9/11 True as a volunteer and a Southeastern logistics coordinator. And I just returned from Europe, from France and Belgium during the summer. I was working with an education conference for engineering schools, and also the local activist community for 9/11 True supporters of architects and engineers in France and Belgium. So it was quite an exciting year. That came right on the heels of the largest trade show booth that architects and engineers had ever put on at the American Institute of Architects convention here in Atlanta back in May, where Richard Gage came to Atlanta directly from a European tour. He flew here directly from Budapest, Hungary, which is in the news quite a bit right now, which was the last of a 20-city tour he did across the EU. So it's been a very momentous year, and we've had a lot of challenges. But basically, we started this organization, or Richard started this organization, almost 10 years ago, so that we had some scientific and professional credibility from science professionals, and we could document what was and what is not scientific about the government's narrative. So we were able to prove quite a bit that the government's narrative, particularly their scientific assessment of how the buildings performed at the World Trade Center, absolutely cannot be true. And we can actually prove that they have falsified data in order to make their fraudulent case. Okay,
so with that in mind, do you have a breakdown of what you would consider, okay, here are the undisputable facts, and then after that go over some of the scientific opinions?
Sure. Well, I like to, I've taught school before, and I've worked with science and math high school students in some of the local schools in this district around here to help tutor them in math and science. And I've had physics and chemistry students and biology, and so I try to break it down to where anybody could grab a hold of this. You don't have to have an advanced degree or an advanced understanding of nuclear physics or any kind of rocket science. This is real simple. Sir Isaac Newton apple fell out of a tree and hit him on the head. Kind of, what goes up must come down. Free fall gravity, and how objects react when they collide with each other, and how gravity affects things that fall and crush into each other if they fall and break, whether it's an egg or it's a concrete floor. So the biggest thing that's so obvious to the most casual observer is that if you look at the videos of the Twin Towers and then later Building 7, which is a third skyscraper, 47-story skyscraper that most people don't even know fell on 9/11. At complete free fall acceleration right through the path of what at least once was the path of greatest resistance. you can see right away that this is not a gravity collapse. I mean, gravity obviously plays a role in it, but this is not a sole gravity-driven catastrophe. This collapse is an explosive event, and you can see explosive squibs. But you can. The most important thing is that you can see the mass of the building falling down through what at least once was the path of greatest resistance, and that's the first rule that you want of observation when you're trying to assess, a building failure, collapse, is where were the areas where it lost its resistance. What the building's designed to do is to resist. That's why we feel comfortable going up into an elevator and getting off onto a floor at some high-rise, office building. The floor resists us. It holds us up. It holds up, the filing cabinets and the computers and the desk. It's not real squishy when you step off the elevator. It's very solid, and that's why we design structures to resist more than just the weight, because there are winds out there, and the taller you build a building, and super high-rise, super skyscraper, the way the Twin Towers were developed,
Let me ask.
they have to resist a lot more lateral force from winds.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot more than just a strong building to hold up.
Can you hear me,
all the
Mike?
floors and weight.
Hold up a second, Mikey. You might be losing a lot of the non-technical people here. Let me ask a question from a layperson.
Okay.
Now, you said that the building 7 collapsed upon its greatest area of strength, which meant it came straight down on the bearing walls, if you will, the walls that had carried the load.
Exactly, in the exact manner of a controlled demolition.
Okay, but my question would be, how else would it come down? That's where all the load was being carried by the exterior shell. Am I not correct?
Well, that's true, but if a building fails, say because of a terrible catastrophe, like an aircraft collision, we could expect that with a collision, way high up in the air, that a building's, large masses of the building's exterior, like the exterior walls, cladding, and maybe some of the support structure may be destroyed. Some of the steel perimeter columns were obviously breached when in the Twin Towers when they were struck. But we would expect that material to fall over the side. It doesn't keep falling down through floor after floor after floor like it's a Roadrunner cartoon. It has to respect real laws of gravity. Mr. Newton's laws. Cannot take a vacation on one day with the other. And
So,
I mean, the real proof is that we have over 100 years history of the skyscrapers, steel framed high-rise. None of them have ever fallen due to a fire. And they've also been struck by planes, and even buildings that don't have the enormous amount of steel the Twin Towers have, and Building 7, have these buildings just come apart like 3 cubes of sugar in hot tea. And that's what we saw on 9/11. So there's something else going on.
to address that.
Sorry about that, Mike. I lost the last 45 seconds of your conversation. You were
Oh.
on mute.
45 seconds isn't bad. Then the engineer that I talked to right after the 9/11 collapse said that the side where the way the planes took out that one side, that all the weight of the building was shifted to the other three sides, and that was too much weight for the other three sides to carry. Now we lost you. Did you click on the wrong thing? Hello. Well, this is not. We're going to stop.